to the round table. I don't know what episode this is. We've recorded like a lot in every 2 weeks, so this is going to come out when it comes out. Hope you all enjoy it. Me and Mark are back. Scott took this one off. We're like, trivia is not happening right now, so we're recording a lot in advance. But hey, Mark, how are you? And what classic piece of cinema did you bring for everybody?
I'm good. You know why I'm good? Because it's after the 15th. It's after the 15th.
That's true.
I'm
That's
very
true.
excited. As many of you may not know, I sell insurance for a living. And for anybody who sells insurance, the 15th of December is a very big day. We all want to kill ourselves on the 15th of December. So anytime after that, we're good.
It's a good day.
On that note,
You're
I
still
brought
with
Love
us.
and Monsters. Yes, I brought Love and Monsters because it's a lot of fun.
What a good thing. Brian used to be on the show. Mark replaced him because Scott scared him away. Brian, what'd you bring? And how are you?
I'm great today. This is like 2 episodes in a row I think I'm on, so who knows? Maybe I'm on my way back in. I brought the cinematic masterpiece that is Black Dynamite.
Yes, you did. Next up on the show, returning, Matt. Matt, how are you? And what'd you bring this time? Because you have had some interesting picks on the show, I will say, in the past. Some good. I think all good. I don't think anybody's really hated anything you brought. You didn't bring Idle Hands, right?
No. I think I brought Copland and Ravenous are the 2 I've brought so far.
Oh, yeah. So you've done well. What'd you bring this time, and how are you?
I'm doing good. I figured I'd probably stick with my 90s theme that I've had going so far, and I brought 1999's Go, the best Tarantino film that Tarantino didn't make.
Person who wanted on the show for a while, I invited him, and then he was getting married, so I couldn't bring him on. But this he could come on. Aaron, how are you, and what'd you bring?
I'm doing well. Glad to be on the show. Big fan of. I've watched pretty much every episode, however many there's been. So it's probably over a day of shows I've watched. So but I don't like to think about that too hard. I decided to bring 1944 Criterion Collection member, of course, because I have a reputation to uphold in Laura. It's actually the film that got me into film noir, which is probably one of my favorite subgenres to this day.
And back on the show, last time he brought a spelling bee movie and dropped it and then couldn't be on. What'd you bring this time, and how are you, Cameron?
Yeah, I was going to be on the episode with Akila and the Bee, and I watched all of the other movies for it, which means I rewatched Varsity Blues for no reason, because I didn't really think about the fact that the day before that recorded, I was getting engaged and would be expected to spend time with my family and her family immediately afterwards, so wasn't really able to show up. But I'm here this time. I actually managed to show up for the recording, and I brought Everybody's Talking About Jamie. I love musicals, and I have yet to bring a musical one picked for this show. So I figured I'd bring this one that not a lot of people have seen, not a lot of people have talked about, and I just find really, really nice.
And then I had to keep trend with Aaron with picking another film from the Criterion Collection. And I don't want to miss a thing. And I picked the classic Armageddon. Not training astronauts to be oil drillers. We're going to bring oil drillers to the asteroid. So, no, I can't wait to talk about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we'll get started. The first movie we're going to talk about is Go. And I said before we started, if you wanted to show people what 1999 looks like, this movie would be a great time capsule for that. It just screams everything from that time. Who has seen this movie prior? I'm Brian. Okay. I knew that was the fact. I knew that was the case. I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie overall. I thought, there are some actors. There's a group of actors in this movie that I'm not the biggest fan of, and put together on screen kind of just made that fact more reality. They kind of got big at that time, but then they're all like they all fit that teen. All these movies around that time feel exactly like, I don't know, Jawbreaker, like all these like teen type movies that are serious around there. Like they all feel exactly the same, and this movie felt like that for me. Everybody else on that hadn't seen it, did you hear anything about this movie prior, or did you guys like it more than me, or how are you guys fitting on it?
Did you want to let Matt introduce this movie first?
No, I don't care about that. He said it, didn't he?
Okay. Well, I thought you'd have them talk about it first. It's your show.
No, when we do the introductions now, like that's when we just like talk about what movie you brought, and then we all just jump right into it.
Okay.
But all the people that hadn't seen it, did you guys like it more than me, or how did you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I'll I liked it quite a bit, honestly. It was a lot of fun. It was honestly my type of movie in that way. I tend to usually sometimes have some mixed feelings towards like these little vignette movies, because I mean I usually find myself like liking a few parts and then disliking one, and like that isn't really the case here. I thought at least 3 parts we got were both pretty fun. Like I always think it's kind of weird seeing Sarah Polley in movies, just because like I really like her in like the one movie I've seen, which is Dawn of the Dead. I've seen her in Dawn of the Dead. I like her in that. And I've seen this. And like, she's good in this too. Like, but it's just kind of frantic and all over the place. The energy is like really high. And like I like the weird British guy who's like just having like the greatest day of his life. I mean, that was a great segment. You got Timothy Olyphant just being like kind of the shittiest person ever. Like we get to the end and he's like making a map to like the guy's door. Like
he has the most punchable face in Hollywood, I believe. I think it was just a fact. Like I just can't stand his his face just screams like I don't know what it is about Timothy Olyphant, but I can't stand him. Like, and I don't think he's a bad actor. He every time, especially around this time, he just plays like that guy that just I can't, like the douche, and he plays the douche really well, and I can't. I think that's the biggest part of this movie that I didn't like is the vignettes. I don't like the cut out like. Who would have guessed, that I don't like a movie that's broken up into different stuff. I want a through line story. Shocking. Yeah, anybody else? We can all jump in if there's, because Brian and Matt, you guys like this movie. I'm guessing you've seen it and you watched it again. Brian, did you like this movie prior to watching it the second time?
Yeah, I've seen this movie many, many times before this. This is one that when it first came out, I really enjoyed it a lot. This was like, in that 5-6 years after Pulp Fiction, when like every movie tried to be Pulp Fiction with a non-linear storytelling and the interweaving storylines and things like that. This, I think, is the best example of that. This is somebody who did it right, I think. And they took it and they didn't try to do, because a lot of them try to do the same kind of, crime thing like Pulp Fiction. This is more kind of taking it into so it's like a teen 20-somethings setting. And I thought they did it very well. This is, Doug Liman has always been a great director I like. I love the cast. I mean, top to bottom. I actually like most of the people in this cast. I mean, Breckin Meyer's fun. Timothy Olyphant I've always loved, and this is kind of his first big film after he kind of showed up in Scream 2. All the way down to, bit parts from Melissa McCarthy and James Kowalkowski and all these people, and Fandom's own William Fichtner. So
it's great.
But it's a great cast, a great like ensemble. I think the storylines worked very well together, and I had a lot of fun. I do remember it being like really kinetic and kind of fast moving. When I rewatched it this time, it didn't quite feel that way, but maybe it's just because like I know the movie so well that it doesn't feel like it moves as much.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I did find it pretty high energy, and the comedic approach to it I think really worked for me as well. I was worried when I saw Jay Moore, because I am not a Jay Moore fan, but post this clearly. And honestly, like William Fichtner, he was my favorite part of the movie. I think he's the best character in this movie. And a lot of the, kind of risk with like a vignette is always you're lose interest in one or two of the stories. I thought all 3 of them were worth paying attention to and worth it. And this is one of these movies that I've like heard brought up by people as like this movie. Oh, not enough people have seen it. And I've heard very few people who dislike it. So like going into it, I had a pretty high expectation for it, which is never like a good way for me to go into a movie, honestly. I'd rather go in with no or low expectations, but it honestly did live up to it for me. And I love Timothy Olyphant quite a bit, and this is like upper tier Olyphant as well for me. So that's like pretty high praise. And I thought that it really did come together without trying to be Pulp Fiction, while obviously taking influence from like one of the most influential movies of the 90s, or really ever, in Pulp Fiction. But I do think this is definitely the best in the Venn diagram of Pulp Fiction movies from this era of movies. So I really enjoyed it. I didn't know too much about it going in, other than that people had seen it, tended to really like it and be like, oh, you got to see it. I didn't know it was a Christmas movie. I didn't know anything like that. So yeah, I really had a good time. I would love to revisit this one eventually as well. So yeah, I had a
clearly on my Oliphant island by myself, and that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
Just punchable face. Cameron, what do you think?
I'm very, if we're talking about the Timothy Olyphant camp, violently neutral. I don't care, don't really have much of an opinion. He is in some movies, and he sure is a part of them. He is neither good nor bad. He's just kind of there. Yeah, this movie definitely feels very 90s. At least I say, knowing from outside references as token young person. But no, I liked the first two acts quite a bit. I think the story with Sarah Polley's character, which also, like, for me, I had a thing similar to Mark, but it wasn't me being like, oh, that's Sarah Polley from Dawn of the Dead. It was me going, oh, that's Sarah Polley, who I only know as like the writer and director of Women Talking. What is she doing? Why is she in this? Like, didn't really know she was an actress in things. She's only in one movie I've ever seen before, which was David Cronenberg's Existence, which I didn't know she was in. But so it was super weird seeing, but like, I think she was actually like, she's giving a really solid performance, honestly. Yeah, like the first two acts of the story where you're following her, and then you're following I think Simon is his name, where he's like just going through his day at the casino where all of this stuff is happening, and then like they just fully light a hotel room on fire and everything goes wrong so quickly for them. But yeah, the third act really lost me to a degree. I think it's just because like the first two stories were so like relevant to each other more so, and then the first one's like, we're gonna backtrack to give the story of these characters who like they just hit her with a car, and that's kind of all that their purpose in this story really is, to like the main central thing. And so it did lose me a bit there, but overall I still found it quite fun. Yeah, the scene where like she immediately gets the instructions for the drugs, and then her friend instantly breaks those rules and takes way too much in the car is absolutely tripping balls, losing his mind. I found like to just be kind of a funny joke. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you can call a movie with the Macarena a 90s movie. But yeah, this is a movie
in 1999.
I really enjoyed it. I think I actually probably saw this before Pulp Fiction, so I probably didn't have that the first time I saw it, but it's definitely, I think like everyone said, it's kind of definitely one of the kind of stands on its own in that genre of kind of paying homage or ripping off Pulp Fiction. I really like all the performances and the characters. The Vegas story kind of does the Hangover 10 years early. Mm-hmm. It's got the fantastic magic carpet ride needle drop in there for the car chase. But yeah, Timothy Olyphant, I love him. He's in this, he does a very good scary sexy. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, all the stories are good. William Fichtner is also scary in a creepy sort of way, but yeah, so you don't know where that story's going to go, and then he starts bringing out the brochures and stuff. It's like, oh, okay. But yeah, so yeah, this is definitely one I've really enjoyed, and glad I got to bring it to everyone.
Yeah, I think the weakest one was the Tay Diggs, like that vignette, or that. So I just didn't like that where it broke out. I mean, and again, I don't think Katie Holmes is that great of an actress. I think that's not like I don't think that's an unpopular thing to say in 2023. I think that's very on brand. But
she's my favorite
Disturbing
She's like the
behavior.
biggest face on the
Sure.
poster, but she's got like some of the smallest part in the film. So I think
yeah,
I
and
figured
it's
that
just
out.
you put her and Timothy Olyphant together, and it's just like a cocktail for me just to not be like at a good time for me.
When
Like
when you look at the cast list for this movie in like different places, it's weird because like looking on like the Letterboxd cast list, it's like, yeah, this is about what I'd expect. Like you got Sarah Polley first, Timothy Olyphant. Then it's like you look at, I think it's the IMDb page, and it's like William Fichtner first, Sarah Polley's like 7th, and it's like, what? Why? Like she's clearly the lead character of this movie.
I thought it was funny. I don't know where you guys watched it. I watched it on Pluto TV, like the free one, and like the little like pause screen that they have, like while it's loading up the movie. I think there's like a small Timothy Olyphant, a big Katie Holmes, and then like a smaller Katie Holmes because like they still didn't want to put Sarah Polley like just kind of in this like little loading screen. Like nobody's gonna know who
Well,
the
she
fuck
didn't-
she is.
she didn't want to be like the star like of anything, and they put her front and center on the poster. Like she's just like, I don't. She never like saw herself as like that of that, and then they put her like front and center, which I thought was funny because they're like, yeah, sure, no problem.
This
Like
is when they were
Pirates
trying
of the
really hard to
Caribbean.
make Katie Holmes happen too, as like a movie star. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I at the time I loved Dawson's Creek. I was one of those people. I liked Katie Holmes on it, but then every time I saw her in a movie, I'd be like, oh, okay, she'll be great in this. And I went and saw like this and Disturbing Behavior and a few other ones. Like, yeah, she's not a great actress.
No, she plays like the same emotion and just heightened voices. Like it's just like the face doesn't change, but everything stays about the same.
Although, if you want to be entertained, go watch Disturbing Behavior because there she tries to play it like this, goth, like outcast girl. It's like, no, it doesn't work.
That movie is insane. I should have brought
Coming to a
Disturbing.
round table near you.
I should have did Disturbing Behavior.
Holmes
Splice.
episode of Round
So that-
Table is what I'm saying.
yeah, Splice.
Also, I
so
just
that
love
can bring
Timothy Olyphant's face when she just gets blasted by that car too. He's just like
He's like,
he just has no emotion.
He's like, well, that's kind of my problems with this person solved then, I guess. Yeah, like, I don't
he
even
gets
know.
mad
What
at them
happens
for just
when
like
we're
driving
dead?
off. He's like, you're just gonna leave her there?
Yeah, she gets blasted. He goes, "Eh."
well, because like he was
Shake
gonna
it
kill
off,
her
you'll be
anyways, and now he's
fine.
like, well, I'm innocent. I didn't even do anything. I'm good. I'm gonna go. Like someone else did.
I didn't hit her. It wasn't me that hit her. Like, relax.
That's why I agree with Mark.
for
One of my
like,
favorite
her
parts is when like
with my
they
handgun,
come
but-
to shoot him, and he's like, "It wasn't me, but here's directions to the guy who did."
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is impressive this movie works as well as it does because like 4 of the 8 leads like that they tried to make happen really don't end up happening ever with like Scott Wolf and Jay Moore and
What about
Katie
Double
Holmes.
Dragon? Come on, man.
Well, that had already happened. So
I could not tell you which person from this movie is in Double Dragon. And I think that's just a lot.
yeah, and
It's
Sarah,
so
Sarah
movie.
Polley was Splice. I mean, that really worked out well. So I mean,
I mean,
it's-
she is an Oscar winner now.
yeah, well,
Not for acting, but
yeah,
still.
no,
I do love that you both mentioned movies as in their top 3 popularity. It's Dawn of the Dead extends it, whatever that David Cronenberg movie is, and then Mr. Nobody is the top 3 popularity from her apparently. So
I mean, there's
Alrighty.
nothing else. That's
Splice.
it.
this movie is
Sure.
6. This movie is 6. She's been in 50 titles apparently. So take that with what you will.
I don't believe it. There's no way she's in 50 movies.
That's what I read on the letter. How many have been released in short films and documentaries? Who knows? But on credits on that letterbox, it's 50. Okay,
Have
so
some
we'll
Baron
get
Munchausen.
scores. Yeah, Time Bandits. I saw. I think, or maybe that
Baron
was
Munchausen.
something.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get scores on this one. Matt, it was your movie. So what's your? We do letterbox ratings just for anybody. But what's your star rating?
I give it a solid 4.
Okay. I didn't love it. It's not a bad movie by any means. I give it 3 stars. I probably won't revisit it anytime, but I didn't just hate my desire. Probably won't. Yeah, I definitely won't because Katie Holmes and Timmy Olyphant are in this movie, and there's just no point to revisit it. Mark, where are you at?
If I could split this one down the middle, I could. Also, I know we haven't done an actor theme here. I think we should. We almost did William Fichtner. We should just the next actor should just be William Fichtner. We all bring William Fichtner movies for this.
Do one of those themes,
But
I'm
we've
okay with that.
already used all of his best movies.
It's
You haven't
Sphincter,
done
by
Heat
the way.
yet?
I mean,
Scott Wolf is still available. So
What squad?
talking about numbers.
I'll go 4 stars.
well, this one he doesn't disarm a nuclear warhead. Aaron, where are you at?
Yeah, this is before I got the message not to be rating my movies before the show. So this was I think this is the first one I watched like a month ago, and then still stuck with me pretty well. So I gave it 4 stars at the time. I'm sticking with 4 stars here. I will revisit this one maybe next Christmas even. I really enjoyed it.
Brian.
Mine has consistently stayed at 4 stars for 24 years now. So there you go.
I don't see that changing anytime.
I agree. Okay.
See him a little bit
Next
older.
time Ryan
You know
watches
what?
something's going to click. and
4.5.
it's suddenly
Cameron.
I give this 3.5 fake ecstasy tablets out of 5.
All right. Next up, everyone's talking about Jamie. This one's a little rough for me at first because I had to debate this movie. So I had
I
to
wonder
look
who
at
would
it
have made you do that.
Yeah, I had to look at this in the negative light. So rewatching it, I had to look positively on it. So it's a little interesting. Did anybody see this movie prior to Cameron selecting it? Okay, that's perfect. So
Well, I'll be honest. I saw that
whatever.
I was on a panel with a bunch of like straight dudes in their late 20s and up, and was like, "Yeah, we're giving them a very gay musical."
I've
had much gayer than this.
Way gayer. But no, we're sitting there. Somebody else in your camp was telling us this about it and been like, hey, Cameron's about to drop. Everybody's talking about Jamie for you film bros. And I said, all right, well, time
And
for
then half a
Armageddon.
second later, you dropped Armageddon.
I said, if you want to play this game, I can play this game
For the
and
record,
make it
I
longer.
dropped everybody's talking about Jamie in the chat whilst like at intermission of seeing a musical on stage.
That's fair. So everybody's talking about Jamie. I mean, I just want to say, like, Richard E. Grant is just. I said this in the debate. Like, overall, he's outstanding in this movie. Like, absolutely outstanding. I think he's really good in it. But I was curious what everybody else thought about this. I know Mark is not. You're not very big on musicals, right? No. So I'm curious of how you like this movie. Brian, I know, is very pro musical, and I don't know where everybody else sits. So, Mark, how did this one hit for you?
It's fine. I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, it just here is what I'll say. Like, I think like the last musical we brought on. I think the last one I saw for this was probably Spirited, and I think kind of in a weird way, unlike Spirited, like this movie, I don't think because like I feel like a lot, like at least some musicals, they kind of like forget they're like a musical, like at 2/3 away in, and it's just like, oh, we're just kind of in the main plot. Like that isn't really the case for this one. Like we're just kind of going pretty steady, music in there. I think just kind of the thing that just kind of takes me out, like I just really wasn't drawn in by the story. I feel like just the overall plot of this is not super interesting. I feel like it kind of went somewhat by the numbers. I like the performance is fine. Richard E. Grant is great. Like I mean, seeing him come in with like a giant wig and full makeup and like just having fun with it is like, just really great. Songs, were fine. Honestly, what I thought was kind of interesting about this is I think the thing that kind of makes this movie stand out was all the songs, was all like kind of these musical numbers, like especially like in the beginning, when they kind of have this full number and like when he like fucks up like his eyelashes and like they got to do this whole thing, and then after he goes to the drag show and like you have everybody in the school like do like this big number, like it's a thing that I think kind of helps move this movie forward. It's kind of what makes it at least more interesting. It's just like whenever somebody like me, like like it like for musicals and the music, it either hits me or it doesn't, and it's just it's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, but I still I think overall somewhat liked it. It's just one like I'm just gonna never see this again.
Yeah, it's one that I'm curious about because I don't know if this story, like, I don't love the music in this movie. I don't think the music's overall that great, personally. I don't know how everybody else feels, but like, I don't know if this story. I think the story's good. I think the story's important. I think the story has a message, but
It's
I don't
based
know
on a
if the
true
music.
story as well.
That makes sense. I just don't know if the music takes me like if the story itself would have been more like better without music, and like we told the story of this kid going through this situation, and then the musical numbers takes you completely removed from it. I don't know where I sit on that, but I feel like my thing is I could never get to it because like well, for a musical for me is I need the songs to catch me. Like I like musicals, but if the songs suck or I just don't care about them and I don't find myself humming them or singing them after, I don't think it's that great of a musical. So like I don't. It's like two stories like fighting each other for me. Like the story's good, but the music doesn't work for me, or the music works, but the performance over here it seems like a lot of show. So I'm curious what Matt and Aaron, are you guys pro, like, are you musical fans or just whatever? I think, man, I don't. As much as I know you, I don't say you're a very high musical guy, but
I'm super big on musicals. There are some musicals that I really love though, but this one I think I agree with what you were saying. Like the songs, they don't really grab you and pull you in. I really liked all the performances. I thought the characters were great. I kind of agree. I think I probably would have liked that story if it was just kind of told straightforward and more of a coming of age drama sort of thing. I thought that might have worked a little bit better because the songs, like I said, I could not tell you any of the songs right now. I'm sure if Cameron Coburn hummed a few, I might recognize them, but yeah,
I
think
could
that
probably go
out.
through all of them if I really wanted.
Aaron, what's your thoughts on
Yeah,
musicals?
no,
in general?
I do like some musicals, for sure. This one kind of missed some of like the potential I was feeling at first with it. It kind of missed the mark a little bit, for me. Some of the songs I really enjoyed, others of them I kind of found pretty repetitive, honestly. And like I don't usually like criticize directing too much, but I did feel like the directing in this was not all that great, so that when it wasn't in the musical sequences, I was kind of a little bit lost with like the drama or kind of the themes that they were kind of reaching for. Like I understood what they were going for, but I didn't think they really quite achieved it. I thought it was a little bit too kind of surface level for me to really like dive deeper into it. And I think that the lead and Richard E. Grant are the only two actors that I honestly thought really had the chops for this. The rest of the kind of cast kind of killed it for me a little bit. So like I started out kind of hoping for some kind of potential, especially kind of with the father dynamic. But I feel like they never really gave the father like that aspect of the story a lot of the attention. Maybe that wasn't the point of it, but I thought that drama explored kind of further and given more attention could have kind of raised the stakes a little bit. And instead it kind of just stayed on the surface for me. And like, I appreciate the representation and everything. Obviously, I think that's very important, but it's just not enough for me to kind of give the movie much more credit than that for me.
Brian, how does this rank for you? I'm curious.
Well, I do like musicals a lot, and I think that's maybe what kind of kept me interested in this story, because I didn't care at all really about the story. I think that if it wasn't a musical, I would have been completely checked out. And while the songs were pretty forgettable, I mean, there's a couple individual ones that I thought were okay, but I think that at least it kept me interested to see the musical numbers, things like that. My biggest problem with the movie was that the main character is so unlikable. He's just like an asshole to everybody, to the teachers, to his mom, to everybody. Like, and for somebody who acts so bullied and oppressed and persecuted or whatever, he like treats them like shit and yells at them, especially with his mom after the one seems like, and he never apologizes to anybody after it happens either. So it's like I don't feel for the character at all. I also didn't think he was that great a singer, but whatever. Richard E. Grant, though, I think did a great job in what small role he had in it. But then again, he always does great in his roles. What else? I didn't like that they made the teacher out to be a bad guy. Because, like, I mean, I get at the end you had to have somebody kind of trying to stop him from going into the prom. And, you know, you had to have that moment where, you know, she gives in and everybody's happy, blah, blah, blah. But even before that, like, when, like, she's trying to, like, tell the kids that they should have realistic, you know, career goals and not just try to be Insta famous and social media stars. They try to, like, make her out to be, like, this bad guy for, like, you know, why are you telling me I can't do what I want to do? And it's like, we're just trying to get you ready for the real world, people. Maybe this is just grumpy old man talking, but all you social media wannabes, you know, you need a reality check. But I mean, I didn't hate the movie. Like I said, I wasn't all that into it, but I kind of knew going into it wasn't gonna be my kind of thing. But the musical aspect of it at least kept me interested.
I really did like that Richard E. Grant song, like when he shows up to the shop. Like I think that's like the one that stands out to me. It's always the one that's but like it's always weird like in musicals, and I know it's musicals, obviously, but when like they do motivational speech, but then they have to like wait for the keynote to like ding, and then like let me explain to you why you can do this and what you're going, because like that's what I'm saying. If the story itself was what it was, and then they actually had like just drag numbers like shows like inside there, but it wasn't musical related, I think I would have maybe, I don't know, I think it's either it's not. I also agree with Brian. I don't really like love the main character of this. I find the main character overall like important going through a really hard struggle, but kind of a dick at most part, like certain parts of it. And I'm just like, well, yeah, you're really oppressed on a lot of the stuff, but you're also not giving yourself any favor whatsoever by like
Right, and I can accept that a lot of it might just be
It's weird.
defensive. Like he's treating people like shit because they're treating him like shit. But at the same time, like you said, it doesn't make you any more likable. So
We've done the Firing Squad. I don't want to do all the Firing Squad. Cameron, this is your movie. You like it. I'm about to get my movie. Don't worry.
Yeah,
But I'm curious, like, you've heard our comments about it. Like, if you want to rebut any of those, you can. But like, your overall thoughts of the movie, even after rewatching it for this.
Yeah, so I will say, like, this is a movie. This was my fourth time watching it. Was for this show. I've seen it a few times. I watched it when it first came out, and I fully was in the camp when it first came out of also like not being very high on this movie. I was very much like, yeah, this is like fine. It's nothing amazing, but it's
Yeah, I think
good.
you gave it a
like,
low star rating when
I first watched it. I gave it a 3.5.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is like I am coming here from a place of like being a fair bit younger than you all. I graduated high school 6 years ago. I also am coming from a place of I like am now working towards becoming a teacher and have like had the chance to work in schools, specifically in arts and with a lot of queer teenagers. And seeing how this movie like represents the experience that like I've seen in real life, I think is something that very much impresses me with how kind of real it can be, where like you have those moments where it's like it was brought up, like the other kids are being not great to him, but there's very much the thing of like the teacher's like the teacher at the front like doesn't really do anything to defend him or like punish the other students when they're being bad to him. She basically just says like, hey, don't do that. Moving on now, here we go. Like I think I don't think they're making her out to be the bad guy because she's necessarily like have a realistic career plan. Like, sure, to Jamie she's the bad guy, but to us, like she's being a fairly reasonable adult. The reason she becomes a bad guy is because she makes the decision to publicly shame a teenager in front of all of his classmates because he makes a stupid mistake with his makeup in the bathroom. Like that's why she's kind of the worst and going up from there. But no, I think Max Harwood is fantastic as Jamie. I love his performance. I think that like, especially when talking about the songs, I think Wall in My Head, which is the song that he sings when he like first gets the shoes and is walking around, like I think that song is fantastic. I think the title number of Everybody's Talking About Jamie, I think is so fun, and just the energy of all these kids like going around basically like playing gossip telephone around the school, where it's like, yeah, it starts out as here's the actual story of what happened, of like we were at a drag club, there were men who were dressed like women, they danced around a bit and did some singing, And then we went home, and then it's like halfway through, it's like, oh yeah, we went to a club where there's like a sex dungeon where they hit you with umbrellas, and they're Mormons and they're making out with their sisters and stuff. And it's like, how did we get from point A to point B? And I think it's very fun to see that, especially knowing like in the stage musical, that's how you start the second act, is like you have the drag performance, your intermission, then you start the second act, and it's all these kids just like reacting to this whole thing that happened. Yeah, Richard E. Grant is phenomenal in this movie. It like so good. This Was Me is a brilliant number where like you see the history of like what it meant to be a queer person, like that came before those now. And I think it's super important and just like a beautiful number. And it's
that was my
the
favorite
singer
part of the whole movie,
actor in that scene is actually the guy who played Jamie in the original like stage show. But yeah, this is one I love. Ralph Ineson is a dude who I love seeing show up in anything. So when you get those few moments of him as Jamie's dad, just like you get to hear Ralph Ineson talking, and he has one of the best voices currently in movies today. Just hearing him grumble about everything, it's great. Yeah, this is a movie that like I fully admit there are flaws. Like I don't love Pretty's songs, or even necessarily like Pretty as a character. She kind of is just there to be like supportive friend. Oh, we got in a fight. Oh, we made up. But this has become a movie like the more and more I watch it, where like the flaws are things I can kind of look past because of like how important I feel this movie is to me and to like the students that I've worked with, and just like how it makes me feel, allow me to kind of move past the problems with it.
Can school musicals stop doing the like in the classroom seating and then like the chalkboard moves and like they all start tapping or something? And I'm so like
you want them to stop doing the High School Musical too.
Just stop. Every school in the musical has to like start or like do a number where it's like, oh, well, we have desks and chalkboards. We have to use them.
Tap our pencils and let's hear the chalk and the
clock
on
it's
the wall.
So frustrating.
Yep. Literally, the opening line of this musical is there's a clock on the wall and it's moving too slow.
I'm just like, as soon as it happened, I was like, of course it is.
Which also, I think I forgot when, like, before we watched this, is like, this movie has a solid 10 minutes at the start before the first musical number. Like, most musicals is like, hey, the musical has started. Here's your first musical number, and we're off the races. And this one's like, here's 5 to 10 minutes of Jamie talking with his mom and taking out the trash and delivering newspapers in the pouring rain. Now we can have a musical number. You've earned it through your patience.
That's when my wife realized it was a musical and she was out.
She got wonked.
Yeah, I heard that was
this weekend, and apparently a musical.
Apparently a musical. No one saw that coming.
Who's excited for Mean Girls? Also apparently a musical, but the trailers won't tell you that.
It's got a little musical note in the title.
Yeah, that one should give it away, but like even Wonka like has music. The Willy Wonka, the first one, has music, so I wouldn't be shocked if they're singing in this one personally. Okay,
well, that's the same thing with the marketing for Into the Woods and Les Mis. Both hid the fact that it's a musical as well as they could too.
I just want to be on the side.
How would you do that for Les Mis? Like we know what that is. Like,
especially because there's
no. It was a story before with musical though, so I think that. But
I just wish I could switch to be the person that hates musicals and like sit myself in the seat and then hear a note and be like, "What the fuck?" Like me, I'm just like, "Oh, that's a pleasant surprise. I ain't mad about this." But then, like when I saw Rocket Man, I didn't know. I didn't know it was musical
recently.
So I was like, "Okay," and then they started singing. But I saw some people be like. I was like, "Well, you're seeing a biopic about John. You get me so mad about it. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but like, it was weird."
Well, it's like I saw a thing where because people were talking about why this happened. They're like, "Oh, well, like a lot of people don't like musicals, and so we hide the fact that it's a musical so that they'll go see it. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if you're a person who hates musicals and you go to see Wonka and out of nowhere they start singing, you're gonna hate that movie more than you would if you knew it was a musical going in.
The only
But they
reason
got your money, so they don't care.
Like,
I saw Hugh Grant be orange and annoying. I was already
If you
not
see the
happy with
interviews with
Wonka.
him doing press for this movie, you can tell like he hates his life that he is in this movie as Oompa Loompa.
That contract he signed, he must be pissed. Okay. We'll give out scores. Cameron, what's your score?
Sorry, did you say me? Yeah, on this rewatch, I have finally officially bumped this up to a 5-star movie. I think just on this rewatch, it hit even more than it has in the past. And like I said, like there are flaws, but just the way it makes me feel and the importance I feel that this movie can and should have is enough to make me look past them.
And the fact that you made 5 film bros hop on the call and talk about it.
And I got
I
got a bunch of film bro straight dudes which for the record, I am also a straight dude, but like I don't know.
That's brilliant.
But I got
gotta
own Criterion copies of Armageddon to watch this movie.
I said Timothy Oliphant was scary sexy, so I don't know what you're saying.
You know,
Man, there we go. Brian.
Matt questionable. The rest.
I had considered going even lower, but especially in because of Richard E. Grant's part, I'm going to give it a 2.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, okay. I'm at 3 stars. It went from 3.5 to 3. It dropped on rewatch for me. Overall, I want to just follow Richard E. Grant. I'm gonna be honest with you. The more I watch this, maybe the grumpy old man in me. But
Cody wants a Loco Chanel spin-off movie.
Yeah, if I could just watch like even him in the shop on a day-to-day basis, I'd rather watch that than some of these kids. And that's just the grumpy old man in me. Aaron.
Yep. As a straight film bro, I'm gonna give this one a 3. I was really, I had no idea what this movie was going into it. I'd never heard of it. So I was really excited to find out, and then they break out into song in the 11-minute mark, and then I knew what I was in for the rest of the time, which is fine also. I'm not against that, but 3, which is kind of low for me. I'm a pretty generous grader, honestly.
Fair. Mark.
Aaron, if you know anything about me, you should have known this was probably going to be.
Well, I had an idea with who I try not to. I was thinking maybe you were trying to go off brand, but I tried not to judge. But shame on me for not judging harder. It wasn't like I was shocked when this turned into a musical. Like I wasn't exactly.
It started singing. He's like, that's on brand.
Now I know Cameron chose it. Yeah, 3.
Mark, where are you at?
There's nothing egregiously bad about this. It's a completely fine movie. It's a 3 stars.
Matt.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this is one that I feel like if I ever did rewatch it, I feel like it could grow on me. Maybe the songs might grow on me a little bit more, but this is not the type of film I would rewatch willingly. So unless Cameron has the opportunity to make me watch it again, it's probably going to stay at 3 stars.
I will say a lot of the soundtrack is in my workout playlist.
Can I just ask one last question before we move on? I don't understand the last shot of the movie because, like, his mom's like, make sure you take out the garbage so they don't miss us. And he brings the garbage up, and then he waves to the garbage driver as he drives past his and everybody else's garbage too. I'm like, what was the point of that shot? I don't know. Anyway,
that's great.
It's very strange.
I would love to have an
answer,
but I don't.
Okay, I was like, answer. No answer. All right.
I know there's a bunch of like real drag queens.
Random as
it's just a random scene to have in there, and then to have him just drive past anyway. You're like, okay.
Well, what you don't see is it's going to be a spinoff. It's going to be a spinoff. Is the drivers inside are working on their Instagram career?
Men at Work, the musical.
They don't care about their job. All right. The Black Dynamite's next. This movie I didn't know what it was about, but I should have known. I've seen. Okay, let me start this over. I'm pretty sure this was advertised during like wrestling when I was younger. Like the movie was coming out, they were talking about it then. I think that's basically why I even remember this. And it is as just out there as I expected it to be. Brian, I just have to. Why'd you bring this gym to us again? You may have said it at the beginning, but I just want you to reiterate. Why'd you bring this?
Well, I
gym
didn't
to
go
us?
to great detail. I just think this movie's a lot of fun because it's the kind of movie that at first glance, I wouldn't think like, oh, this is my kind of movie. It's just kind of because I mean, it's basically a parody or a spoof movie kind of thing. And it's not a genre that I am any kind of expert in. Obviously, these blaxploitation films, but I heard great things about it, and so I watched it, and I loved the movie because I mean, half the humor is not even in the jokes itself. It's in making fun of the filmmaking style. I mean, you have like the microphone zipping in the picture and he's like glancing up at it. They're keeping in like bad takes and it's badly edited and spliced and things like that. And the, the bad camera moves and the melodramatic acting. And like I said, I think half the fun of the movie was not even in the movie itself. It was in, the way it was done, which is why actually they just came out with a movie called Outlaw Johnny Black, which also stars Michael Jai White. It was supposed to be like a spiritual sequel. It's like a Western kind of thing, but they completely forgot that because it was a straightforward, just a comedy movie, but they didn't have any kind of that mocking the style or the, the bad filmmaking and things like that. And so that's why that movie just kind of was not nearly as funny. I got more to say about specifics, but I just brought it because it was a lot of fun. I know not a lot of people I think have seen it. I mean, in this community more than most, but I think at least a few people here hadn't seen it. So I was curious to see how other people would take it.
Yeah, this has basically everything in a movie that I just don't like overall. Like, I don't like spoofs and like that. I know it's all for like that sake. It just drives me crazy. I think Michael Jai White's really good in it. Like, let's not be crazy. And I think there are some funny moments and like that. It's interesting. Like, if that's your cup of tea, I can see this movie just being awesome. Koho's review of why isn't Michael Jai White in more things? And Paul Yama's comment on it. If you haven't seen the Letterboxd reviews, let me tell you about institutional racism and just ... I've never laughed. So I laughed harder at that than I laughed at the overall movie. I just thought it was really funny that he just dropped that on Koho at 3 stars. Yeah, this just was never going to be my cup of tea overall. Like, just with that stuff, the style itself gets me completely removed from it. But overall, I respect it for what they were attempting to do more than like, oh, this movie's terrible because it's not done. No, I can see people just this being right up their alley. Like when I watched this, Matt, did you see this movie prior? Did you like this? Because I could see that you. This is like I was like, this is a checkbox for Matt, if anybody. So, you saw this movie prior, right?
Oh, definitely. I love this.
Okay. I've been in this community long enough. I can almost pinpoint it.
This one
did anybody else see this prior? No, Cameron? Oh,
I heard a lot about it because it was in a certain trivia match. Because some people decided to pick it because they were joking that a friend of mine was a racist, but that's about it. Do you not know that that's why those were the Deep Cut movies chosen by a certain team?
No.
Yeah, because a long discussion in a different chat about how Payson was like, I don't love Django Unchained. And Nazario decided to spin that
no, okay. We're back on it, yes.
And that's why they chose Black Dynamite, and
because they kept making jokes about it.
He chose Don't Be Menace. I chose Black Dynamite because it's a good film. So.
Fair enough. All right, so Matt, are you in line with Brian? You're in line with Brian on this, I'm guessing?
Oh, yeah. This is one of those ones that every time I watch it, I kind of pick up on something new every time. It's like another movie that I know Cody loves, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That is one of my favorites as well. And then this time, there's so many just quotable lines in it that has made its way into me and my friends' conversations. And like this time, there was a couple of things like Brian was saying, some of like they're kind of making fun of the 70s films where it's maybe not necessarily the best filmmaking. I love the scene where Bullhorn's fighting one of the goons and he accidentally really slaps the guy and then he gets angry and starts walking towards him. Then there's a quick cut and it's been replaced by a different goon. So yeah, there's just a lot of great stuff. Fantastic. The whole where they go to explain the whole conspiracy behind the Anaconda malt liquor, going through the whole thing. It's just. Oh, yeah. I mean, I could just sit here all day just going through quotes and stuff, but yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So the people that hadn't seen it, what's your guys' opinion on Black Dynamite for your first time viewing?
Yeah. I was shocked Brian chose this because I didn't know he had it in him. So I'm really proud. I really like this.
I'm not sure how to take that.
It's okay. You can take it however you want. I don't, I'll leave this I don't mean it negatively. I didn't know Brian liked so many good movies. I should really talk to Brian more about movies because, maybe we have more in common than I realize. Undercover Brother is one of my favorite comedies of all time. And I've been searching for a spiritual sequel to that for, I don't know, since it came out 20 years ago. And
have you seen I'm Gonna Get You Sucker?
Yeah, I have seen I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, yes. And I think one of the things this spoof movie does well is it clearly doesn't hate the subject that it's making fun of. Like, it has so much love for the era of movies that it's, kind of spoofing on. And I think that, plays such a strong role in why it works so well. And I really did love Michael Jai White in this. I don't know why he's not been in more things until you brought up Paul Yama's comment. So now it makes all the sense in the world. I don't know why I didn't think of that. But yeah, no, I really did have a good time with it. And yeah, I think that it really was a strong movie. I've seen the Outlaw movie before this actually, and I think this is obviously much stronger than that, but still both are worth watching. And Black Dynamite, I had heard about it. I just hadn't heard much about it to get my intrigue until this. So definitely glad that it was brought up. And yeah, I dug it.
Mark, I'm really curious. This seems like a home run for Mark if I know his kind of movies.
Well, I will say I actually had seen this before. Like I saw this when I was 16 years old. Nope, I would have been 17. I would have been 17 when this came out, and I was just renting everything, and I thought it was fine. I just didn't get it. It felt like kind of a lot of those like Adult Swim type of like short things that are like on like at 3 a.m. It's like, okay, this is just really silly. I don't
They
get
did
it.
make a Black Dynamite cartoon there.
They did.
Yeah. And you know what? I was doing apps on Friday, applications. I mean, I just kind of had it on. I didn't really feel like I had to kind of pay attention. And like, God damn it, did I just enjoy the hell out of it? Like this watch, like got me through. Like just, it is just so goddamn silly, and like I just have to admire like just how honestly how stupid it is. And like the moment I think that really got me, I didn't really know, like maybe I did, is when he has that first chase with cream corn, and it feels like he's catching up to him like 4 times, and then the next shot cream corn is like 10 meters away from him, and then he catches up to him again and he's further away from him, and then like as they're like dodging people, and like Michael Jai White like makes a move, and then like he makes a move like to run into the guys like holding the eggs, just like, so there's like just unnecessary like mess and destruction. It's just so, and then at the end, where do they go to the end? Like Kung Fu Island? They go to Kung Fu Island. Like it is just the most ridiculous thing. It is just the most ridiculous movie. It is so much fun, and I think kind of echoing what Aaron said, like they are also clearly fans of the genre that they're spoofing, and it just kind of makes the movie. It makes the movie so much fun. It makes it so colorful. Like I like we got a sequel. I guess because Robert Rodriguez is more famous, we got a sequel to Machete. We should have gotten like 8 Black Dynamites. Like I would have been in line for all of them.
I will say, Mark, if you enjoyed it that much when you were like doing something else and half watching it, if you actually sit down just do nothing but watch it, I think you'll love it even more because there's so many little things that you'll miss.
I wasn't working for like the last 45 minutes, Brian. Like I was just watching.
Yeah, it's only like 87 minutes long to start with. Yeah.
I was on an island by myself on Go. Cameron, am I still on an island by myself on Black Dynamite?
No, you are not, Cody. Yeah.
Welcome to the island.
Well, for starters, I am from Canada, and if you don't know about Canada, we're a very white country. But yeah, this movie really did not work for me. I will say, this is a movie that like overall is not terrible, but it sure ain't good. It has one great scene. It has one great scene, and it is the scene that Kaleb brought up. Yeah, the dog agrees with me. It's got one great scene.
That is a white dog.
But no, I think the scene where they figure out the whole conspiracy is exactly the kind of humor that I love in a lot of ways, where it's just like the most massive leaps in logic that makes zero sense. And like at one point they end up just back at the start of their train in logic and then start it again, but go in a slightly different direction. And that whole scene I found very amusing because it goes on for so long, truly so long.
And it's not even that far from like Da Vinci Code and National Treasure where they do that with a straight face.
Yeah, exactly. And like I found that very fun where they're like, and of course it's these guys who like the whole time are established to be like, it's the 1970s. These are like street gang criminals, not the most intelligent guys. And it's like, of course, the rod of Asclepius, and Asclepius is the god of medicine, and there's snakes on, and like just these massive leaps. And so that scene I found very fun. The rest of this movie I did not care about at all. Didn't get much enjoyment out of it. Didn't find much humor. Yeah, I think the big thing is like, I'm not particularly familiar with what it's parodying. I have never seen any form of blaxploitation film, I believe, in any way. I don't think I've seen any, which I'm sure doesn't help. But yeah, this just really did not land for me. Like, I don't think it was horrible. Like, it wasn't offensive. It didn't make me angry. Like, it was short, which it's like the saving grace for this movie for me is honestly that it was 85 minutes. Like, I watched this just while I was at the bar waiting to start work and start running bar trivia. And I will say movies are a lot more tolerable when you're eating cheesy garlic bread while you're watching them. So overall, not great, but not like horrible by any means.
Well, the positives, you all can talk about scenes and stuff that you like. Go for it. Let's talk. I'm just going to, sit back and wait till we talk about the Criterion movie.
Which one?
I mean, the part you're talking about, I just want to jump on that. Like, whenever they're making that leap, I just love in that scene how everybody just kind of is on the same page. Like, it is like, as we all know, the Greek god of war is Ares, obviously. And then they get to the end, it's like, should we kill him? Like, yeah.
I just, the Ares ones, so they're like, Ares, and what's Ares in Roman? Mars. Drop the S, turned around, Ram. What's Ram the astrological sign for? Ares. Who is Ares' sister? It's like
Anaconda malt liquor gives you a little dick.
Dialogue to put us back where we started. Like, that's the stuff that I find very amusing, and to the point where, like, when going to look up those lines later, it's so long that it has to take 2 separate sections on the quotes page of IMDb. It's so long that it can't be contained in the max size of one of their boxes.
Yeah, it's just my downfall with these movies. It's like Monty Python, it's Airplane, it's every like spoof kind of like joke on joke. I just think it's just not for me. I don't find funny. I just don't laugh. I'm just sitting there the entire time like, I bet, like, every time I'm watching these movies, I'm always like, there is somebody on a couch right now dying, hysterical at this scene, and I just wish that was me. It's not me, and I just have to live in the life that I am in. I don't seek these movies out. I don't try to rate them to make people mad. I just am like, when they're given to me, I have to, but yeah, you guys were talking about that entire scene. I'm just like,
Kung Pao coming to a round table near you.
Yeah, I imagine it's coming.
Episode coming soon.
Is there any other talking points from this movie I don't want to take away because I didn't like it? I have nothing really to add.
I mean, we can go scene by scene if it's...
we can quote it if you guys want. Brian loves a good quote.
A Black Dynamite. I sell drugs in the community.
The part where he just drops the guy from the helicopter, he's just laughing, and then he just keeps walking into the room. He's still laughing.
I mean, come on, they had me from the beginning when the undercover guy's like, "I told you, jive turkeys, I ain't no snitch."
Oh, man.
Anyway, I'll stop.
Yeah, Cody's having too much fun.
Cody would call me a hypocrite if I kept quoting.
And no one even
No. Okay, Brian, what's your star rating?
4.5.
Aaron.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. Not as much as Brian on the unfortunate, but yeah, I still was very surprised by this one, and it's the reason I didn't judge the movies coming, from Cameron or anybody else, because this was not what I was expecting from Brian, and I'm really happy to see it. So I'm gonna give it a 4. I do think it was pretty solid, and it's upper tier of a genre of movies I think can really, really drag and make me feel like Cody did with this and all the other. So I think this is an upper tier parody spoof movie.
Matt.
The problem I have with Letterboxd is I can only give this 5 stars.
Oh, that's painful. I'm really glad because I can just imagine the 10 stars out there. That just looked too bad on screen. Mark.
I'm gonna rate this as how much it surprised me, how much it surprised me that I liked it on rewatch. I'll give it 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Oof.
2 stars.
I can't believe that I'm going to get a lower average rating on my movie than Black Dynamite.
Join the club.
It might be the clubhouse leader by the end of
I am
this.
not surprised. I should actually do that. Like, everybody that's been on the show, like, what's their average star rating? Like, who has the highest and lowest?
I don't need to know that, Cody. It's fine. I don't mind.
For the record, Cody, I'm with you. 2 stars.
Oh.
Cameron Cody, 4 stars.
Firm 2.
All right. 18 days. The global killer is coming for Earth. They've drilled on every part of the Earth, every surface known to man. We got to get the best in the biz. Let's get Harry Stanton to go dig and this band of misfits to go to an asteroid. Listen. I can't tell you this is a masterpiece, but I will tell you this is a masterpiece. I'm telling you, there are very few movies that I enjoy as much as I enjoy Armageddon. And Armageddon is awesome in every extent of the world. Some would look at this film and on this they'll see the table go up and all the things and be like, is this guilty pleasure? No, this is just a normal episode. I'm picking it, and I honestly don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't. I can understand if it's not being for you, but I don't think it's a bad movie. Who had seen Armageddon prior to this?
Many times.
Okay, so we're just gonna pull the Band-Aid off, and then we can go around and talk to everybody else. Cameron, I heard you were having a great time while watching this movie, so I'm just curious to think, like, what'd you like about it?
Yeah, I hated this movie. I hate this movie so much. It's
Shocked, I tell you.
like the problem is, like, I've been prepping for the next Fandom season. And so I've been watching, like, the shitty Fast and Furious movies and the Jurassic Park sequels, things like that. Like, that's what my watching has been. And I was like, right, I'm going to watch some movies for Roundtable. And, like, you watch a Go. You watch an Everybody's Talking About Jamie. You watch some movies we haven't gotten to. And then you watch Armageddon, which is 2.5 hours long. And you start it at the bar before you do trivia, and you get an hour through it. Then you finish trivia at the bar, and you drive home, and you keep watching it, and there's still an hour and a half left. I could have watched Aaron's movie twice in the time it takes me to watch this movie, basically.
That's how long movies work, yeah.
And I truly found nothing enjoyable about this movie. The only thing I like about this movie is the Aerosmith song. That's it.
That is a good banger.
thing about it. I like this movie. I just didn't care. I found none of the characters likable.
You're not
I
American.
found every character.
This is the white Canadian coming out again.
So unbelievably stupid. Where they're like, "Oh, we missed it," and they're like, "How?" Well, it's like, "Well, the sky's really big," and it's like, "What are you talking about? That's not how you do things."
You don't think the sky's really big? Look at the sky.
Mm-hmm.
You see how
Look
big
at
that
the
shit
fucking
is?
sky. Tell me you can see everything when you look up. They only have $1 million budget.
NASA has.
Just I
You
like.
had
Listen,
to be
they
there.
found all these oil drillers across the country without finding the big
it's
asteroid.
damn hard. You know how hard it is to drill
When your
oil?
main- when
Do you
your
know how
main
hard it
team
is
of
to drill
heroes
oil?
Your hotshot oil driller recruits includes, I believe, 2 canonical possible sex criminals.
Hey, shit happens.
They're good at
Hard
drilling.
work is good to find. Hard work is hard to find.
The records got cleared. It's okay.
They never want to pay taxes again, like, ever.
Which, by the way, that whole request scene was stolen from
I
sneakers. Just gotta
hated
say
this.
that.
This movie's too long.
Yes, it
Five
is.
of you
It
can
is
have
stolen
your
from
discussion
sneakers.
about being alive in the 90s and being able to afford housing and have your fun times. And I'll sit here with my student debt and sad inflation rates.
So, Armageddon, everybody. Who hates this? Who does not like this movie? We can just go for that person, and then we can go. Okay, we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot, people. We're in a good spot.
I'm gonna go get a drink. I'll be back in a few.
You enjoyed yourself. Listen, they let Michael Bay be full Michael Bay in this movie, and again, I don't know if it's proven or just rumors, but the Ben Affleck asking Michael Bay, wouldn't it be easier just to train astronauts to drill, and you just like shut the fuck up? This is my movie.
I don't have a problem with that question though, because he's right. Because you can't really teach astronauts to drill. The drillers, you're not teaching them to fly spaceships and do everything astronauts need to do. They're just along for the ride. They're being taken up there by the astronauts to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you can't teach these people all the ins and outs of drilling. So I've always had a problem with that question.
Yeah,
I still just love. I just like I love the war room setting in this movie. Like when they're all sitting around and like coming up with plans, and like Billy Bob Thornton. I think Billy Bob Thornton plays like one of the great like leaders of the you fucking idiots. Like when he's sitting there and they're like they hit the button and that little shield like pops out. He goes, "Guys, come on, we have a freaking asteroid coming through," and you're like playing this little games. And when he sits there and is like, "Let's just shoot every nuclear warhead we have," well, that won't work. And he's like, "Well, that's the smartest man in the world. You might want to listen to him because, like, your guy got us." Or when he's like, "Well, his person of defense or thing says that this wouldn't work," and I was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't trust a guy that got a C+ in astrophysics." Like, he just throws like every little thing at him to say like, "This won't work." And like, I agree. Like. The premise of it makes like everybody has the biggest premise of like sending them to space doesn't work, but I agree with Brian. Like they need to be the ones to drill because if they don't know what they're doing up there, they can fly and get there, but if they can't drill, this movie's ridiculous in parts, but it's the perfect 90s ridiculous action movie that just works in every way for me. Like when he ramps the other drill in the air and flies over the asteroid to get to basically where they are, and they blow the transmission just to see the lights over the top and be like, yeah. Like it's goofy. I will say this has got, if you're not emotional at the end of this movie, you've got a hardened heart. Like when he's sitting on that rock and basically has to like talk to Liv Tyler and say, "Hey, I'm just not coming back." Like, I remember watching the first time, and I still watched and still got goosebumps. I think it's a great delivered performance at the end of this movie.
It is kind of funny that
I did cry, but that's because I was relieved it was over.
And it is kind of funny that like
you said you were going to be quiet.
It is kind of funny that close relationship like conversation is being played over like 100 TVs in front of all of NASA as well. It does take a little bit of like, can we just have a moment? Like earmuffs, everybody. Like
turn off your TVs, damn it.
That did take a little bit away from my heartstrings.
That's fair.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And he's like saying this all to these people, but everybody is hearing it. Every human being on the earth is hearing what he's saying.
They were having like such trouble getting the video link, and then suddenly they have HD video when they have to do the last little bit at the end.
It's less weird.
Oh, because now it's rotating.
It's less weird than the music video when Steven Tyler's singing to Liv Tyler about it.
I also find it hilarious. Like, this movie's got so many plot holes. Let's not be realistic, but they're doing the spinning, and they're like, we'll shoot every nuke we have. No, it'll just bounce off like it's nothing. And then they're like, we only got 5 minutes to remote detonate this bomb. You have one bomb. You're going to shoot every nuke you had. You have one. You're just going to push it on the surface of this bomb and do nothing. It will do absolutely different. So I thought that was their big, like, when those doors open and all the, like, 70 people walk out of that elevator basically walking towards to, like, armed with the nuke because the president's overwritten him. Brian, your thoughts. I've talked a lot about Armageddon. What's your thoughts on Armageddon?
I love Armageddon. It's one of only about 6 Criterion collection discs that I own, because it's one of the few good ones they make. No, but you were talking about how it's like the perfect like 90s film. It's also, this is the very definition of like a summer blockbuster back in like the because like nowadays it's all MCU and superhero movies and sequels and things like that. But this is back when your summer blockbusters were like this and Independence Day. And I mean, this came out a month before Godzilla, or a month after Godzilla, which of course they make reference to that in the movie with the dog. Like 7 weeks, I think, after Deep Impact came out. So it had that twin movie kind of thing going on with that. But it was just a perfect summer blockbuster. Michael Bay, I love pre-Transformers Michael Bay. I mean, the man's first 3 films were Bad Boys, The Rock, and this. I mean, and so this is probably to that point the farthest he's gone into full Michael Bay. But of course, then he kind of went over the edge in the Transformers movies, and he hasn't quite been the same since then. But I mean, his only pre-Transformers miss was when he tried to knock off Titanic and make Pearl Harbor. Other than that, I mean, I've actually
time he ever made a bad film.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that in his pre-Transformers days.
It's sassy.
Like I said, I love Bad Boys. I like The Rock, and I love this movie as well.
He's just mad that the highest rating of Armageddon is going to break Everybody Loves Jamie by a large margin.
Well, because
I'm mad. Yes. Am I mad about that? Absolutely. I'm mad that this movie is terrible and none of you see it.
You had to be.
Well, maybe there's a problem with you. Think about that.
You had to be there.
But I mean, I love what they refer to as Bayhem, the Mayhem in Michael Bay movies. I love that I mean, obviously there's digital work in here as well, but there's so much like practical, stunt work and effects going on. It's tons of fun. The talent assembled behind this movie. I mean, you have a great ensemble of actors. There's Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck obviously leading it. But then when you're supporting cast, is a bunch of great character people like Steve Buscemi and Peter Stormare and Michael Clark Duncan and Owen Wilson and William Fichtner and Billy Bob Thornton and all these other people. It's Will Patton, yeah. It's a great cast, top to bottom. It's produced by Michael Bay as well as Bruckheimer and Gail Ann Hurd are both involved in that. The writing team included Tony Gilroy and J.J. Abrams, among other people. I mean, so the talent behind this movie was great. They just assembled a great team to this. I do think it goes a bit long. I think the whole 20 minutes plus on the space station could have been cut out of the movie and it would have been fine. Honestly, I think after they get to space, I find it way less interesting. I mean, obviously a lot of important stuff happens there, but I find everything before they actually went up is the best part of the movie. The stuff after that is good, but I would not have minded if they cut some of that stuff down, especially the space station scene. They could have cut, like I said, 20 plus minutes off of the movie at that point. But yeah, I mean, this is a movie that I just think is pure fun. So and I know it's stupid, blow them up, entertainment, but people know me. I'm fine with that. So.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in a similar space. Yeah, I love the first hour of this movie. I love a good montage, and in this one you get the assembling the team montage, you get the training montage, but then once they go out into outer space, it's just catastrophe after catastrophe after catastrophe for the next hour and some change, and that kind of gets a little rough. Maybe if they would have trained them a little bit better, they wouldn't have blown up a space station that had been up there for years with them getting there 20 minutes later. But just that whole kind of stretch there, and Steve Buscemi getting the space dementia. That kind of
drag. They have all that powered machine gun on this stand.
Why do they got a minigun on all that stuff?
I won't even try to defend Space Dementia.
But then
That was
at the very end there, it does get to me a little bit when you got Ben Affleck crying there as Bruce Willis shoves him back in there so he can sacrifice himself. And he's got to go take care of my daughter now and all that. That gets to me a little bit. And probably for like the next 5 years, you wouldn't be able to go to a school dance without hearing that song. So, yeah. Like I said, if you trim like a good maybe 30, 40 minutes out of this movie, it's really great.
Oh, Matt, don't tell yourself short. You can take way more out.
You just had to be there, period. I remember seeing
I was there for 2.5 hours.
The Criterion Collection one is actually extended. You got a couple more minutes on it.
Oh, good. I'd love to see what they added. I don't have the Criterion of that one, unfortunately, yet, but I'll go to Barnes and Noble right after this. There was a lot more. So when I saw this when I was 9, I think this is the most emotional I'd ever been in a movie theater. It really just broke me down. I mean, and it was just like the crying of Ben Affleck, him with Liv Tyler and the animal crackers, which is a scene we have not brought up yet, and leaving on a jet plane. Like, come on. I mean, you're truly dead inside, Cameron. I'm sorry, but it's that
and
you
I
just
gladly will remain. So
yeah, and you can all, and I just think this is it's a Bay Bruckheimer, collaboration once again, where they have like characters who are obsessed with knowing who really killed Kennedy, which just seemed to be a really big thing for Michael Bay in the 90s for whatever reason. The first meteorite hits the Twin Towers, so I don't know, I mean, I know Simpsons predicted everything, but so did Michael Bay in a way. So
it was creepy to see where it was like where you see this the hole taken on the top of it. You're like, wow.
And yeah, it really is a disaster movie. It's a good disaster movie. I mean, I really, I enjoyed this much more. I thought it was. I've been afraid to rewatch this movie for a long time, honestly, because we have kind of gotten into. I shouldn't have. I really was wasting a lot of time. Honestly, we've gone into the internet age where we're going to be like, Space Dementia. Oh well, whatever. It's a movie. Let's have some fun. Forgetful Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi with Bruce Willis, Keith David, Michael Clark Duncan. It's a stack. William Fichtner, who's already been mentioned, but we need to mention William Fichtner as much as we can because he's just not creepy enough in this movie. Would be my
Why do you have a gun in space?
It's William Fichtner. That's why. There's a lot of Star Wars references in this movie that I did not remember. So that's got to be J.J. Abrams all over it right there. Yeah, I mean, so much of the other things have been brought up about this movie. But, I mean, it's still really, when he pushes him back into the elevator and Ben Affleck is just in full-on crying Ben Affleck mode. I mean, it's great acting in, a movie that, as equal parts silly as it does serious or maybe too serious, as some dramatic spinning, Michael Bay camera shots that I just appreciated. And I forgot this movie was 2.5 hours. I'll be honest with you. And yeah, it does feel it. But my defense for that would be, it makes you feel like you're on the space journey with them. Maybe you feel like you have a little bit of space dementia by the end of it. I think that's just really, inclusive filmmaking right there, which Michael Bay could pull off until Transformers. And I've been watching Cameron's face the whole time during this conversation, and then I just feel bad for him. And
you kind of see the light leave his eyes.
Here's the thing: is truly, I don't think this would have hurt as bad if I hadn't tried to use this as a break from watching other deeply shitty action movies.
Well, I mean, if you want a worse space movie, check out Dark Star, directed by John Carpenter.
I've seen Dark Star, directed by John Carpenter. I like it more.
Stop! I still
laugh when she's like, "I'm just here to drill." Yeah,
I watched Fast 9 today, and it hurt.
I
Will Patton in that room too with the. When those balls, he's like, "Are you getting angry?" Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe I am getting, but not by the situation. His reaction is so good. Mark, you haven't talked on it yet. Your thoughts on Armageddon?
Yeah, I think similar to when did this movie come out?
98, 99.
We're about the same age, Mark.
Okay, yeah, Yeah, I think 6 or 7. Saw this movie in theaters. It just blew my little mind. I I've liked this movie pretty much my entire life, and what I've kind of noticed, at least going forward, is I think the movie. I think Michael Bay does a very good job of both being himself, but also kind of like I would say kind of reining in it a little bit, and at least by being himself. It was a scene that I don't know if you guys listen to that Cinephiles podcast one with like Roca and like his film, but like they pointed out something that I never noticed in my life was in that montage scene we were talking about where they're getting everybody together, they're gathering the team, and like and I think Bruce Willis said they it took them 18 hours to get to NASA, like from where they were at the drill spot, and they maybe spend like an hour breaking it down to Bruce Willis, like, hey, this is where we're at, this is the plan, and then just like maybe not even just an hour later, like they like ship Bruce Willis and his daughter like quick, like they needed to get him to NASA as quick as possible. A day later, everybody on that fucking oil rig is everywhere around the world. How the fuck do they get everywhere around the
Ben
world?
Affleck has started his own business.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. But I didn't notice that for 20 fucking years. It didn't matter because who cares? It's fun. Like we're all having fun, are we? It doesn't matter that you never notice. Like,
yes, we are. I'll speak for Cameron. Yes, we are.
It's like what, 18 days, and it took them probably like 10 days to give them the training that they got, and then they said.
And that man has got an oil rig, and he's already got licensing and everything. He's just like, let's roll.
I think the movie that just kind of perfectly describes the movie. It's like it is so fun. You just kind of don't really notice the flaws around it. All the silly stuff is like you just kind of put up with it just because who gives a shit. But I think Michael Bay also does a good job of, I think, kind of grounding his movie. And he kind of grounds it with the relationship, with the, not really like love triangle, but at least like, the emotional triangle of Bruce Willis, Liv Tyler, and Ben Affleck. Like, for whatever reason, that still works to this day. Even though Liv Tyler, not that great an actress, you feel that father-daughter relationship. You feel that moment, like whenever he's saying he's not coming home. You feel the moment when he's like, when he has to bring he rips out AJ's air thing, and and he's like saying like he's going to be the one to destroy the asteroid. You feel those moments for whatever reason. It works. I don't like, and I think it just kind of comes down to that. This is maybe one of Bruce Willis's better acting performances. Like, it's a weird thing to say, but like it happens to be true, like for whatever reason. And I think there's enough heart in this movie that I think just kind of helps drive past like all the silly, like past all the space dementia, and we're training oil drills to be astronauts, which Brian, it doesn't make any fucking sense. They still have to be fucking astronauts up in space. Okay, you got to be smart. I've seen Apollo 13.
They just have to ride the ship.
They just have to learn how to put their suits on and how to walk and stuff in space. They don't have to learn how to fly anything.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They just have to be in there. They don't have to fly any of the equipment. They don't have to do any of the stuff. They just have to be able to move in space. That's all they have to do. But I do love the part when William Patton learns around and goes, that clock, that timer on that bomb just turned on. Like, lets Bruce Willis know. But when Bruce Willis and William Fichtner are having that exchange, he's like, I have never missed a feat, a mark.
Yeah.
I've drilled to every feat that I've ever aimed. And he's like, you swear on your daughter's life, on my family. Like, he's like, well, his daughter would have been enough. He doesn't know your kids at all. Like, that didn't weigh anything. But I think
if I'm wrong, we're all dead anyway. So.
Yeah, if I'm wrong, we're fucked anyways, but you're going to buy me some more time. Also, I don't know how they lower that bomb. They don't show it, but how they lower that bomb 800 feet into the core, because I don't know how like stable it is, but going down a rock sounds dangerous. And the whole thing, also the one thing that I find funny is at the end, things like exploding towards Bruce Willis. I'm like, oh, this thing's going to take care of itself. Like, it's just going to blow up itself. We'll give star ratings.
I did read the Ebert review this morning for it. He was very much in Cameron's camp. But the thing I loved in his review is he called it the first 150-minute movie trailer. I thought that perfectly sums it up.
I'll start 4.5 stars. There are some stuff that I would cut out. I do not think it's an absolute perfect movie, but Peter Stormare, like when he's hitting that damn thing on the ship, is like, "I'm not gonna die on this rock," and it starts. You're not an astronaut. Like he's screaming at AJ. It's like you're not an astronaut. Cameron.
Yeah. 1 star, please and thank you.
1 star, fair enough. I figured. Brian.
Sorry, do you want me to be happier about it? 1 star, yay!
I appreciate it.
I think a trimmed version of this for me could rate even higher, but right now I'll stick it a solid 4.
Aaron.
Yeah, I'm really teetering here. I'm very, very close to giving this a 5-star review, honestly. Because like I'm gonna leave all the man, what are you doing with a gun on? There's so many great lines, but I can't quite get there. It is a 4.5 though. So I will give it that. It's got a lot more heart than people who hate it are going to give it credit for. And because it's Michael Bay, it's like, that's an eye-rolling statement right away. But I mean, I think a few of his movies really do still hit the mark to this day. And this, I'm really very glad it was one of them. And I let the skepticism of the internet keep me from this movie for over 20 years. And that's a real shame. And that's my bad.
Matt.
I will say that my wife lasted longer and everybody's talking about Jamie than she did in this one. But I'm going to channel Bar and give it a 3.75.
Oh, that's not a lot.
3.5. That's a 3.5 on the scale, or 4, your choice.
3.5.
Okay. Because I'll give it a 4. If you don't, I'll just make it a 4. Mark.
I just want to say something real quick. Just from the panel of everybody that liked this movie, I think everybody's watching, questioning our film taste. I will say there is somebody in this community named Kaiser Wang who rated Pearl Harbor 5 stars. So clearly, we're not in the wrong here. Other people are.
You're saying that as though you can't also be wrong.
What's your rating on this?
I give it 4 stars.
Okay. Yeah, Pearl Harbor, the most historical accurate movie ever. The guns they use and everything. Michael Bay really just didn't care about
he wants to fly a plane, but
time.
he has dyslexia, I think, which stops him because you have to read a lot to be in a plane in World War II.
You got to read maps. Geez. And coordinates, I guess.
It's not like there are 2 people in a plane.
You're the reader.
Okay. 2 more movies for the night. This next one is Love and Monsters. Mark, ever seen this movie prior? Because I know. I mean, this is probably my roundtable that I've seen the most movies before watching. I saw 3 of them, so this was one of them. This is a movie on paper. When I saw the poster and trailer, I thought this movie was going to be ass. I'll be real honest with you. I thought this movie was going to be bad. Just because it's like, not saying Dylan O'Brien's a bad actor, but Dylan O'Brien, kind of like sci-fi-ish movie. This doesn't have the recipe of being that good of a movie. Honestly, I didn't love it the very first time, but I didn't hate. Like I was pleasantly surprised from it. So, was this one of the COVID? I don't remember.
Yeah, this was a 2020 because this was nominated for Best Visual Effects, which like in our regular year would never have happened.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It was like a COVID year. So it was like thing, but overall, good thing. Aaron, you didn't see this prior?
No.
So what's your take on it after watching it?
My take on it is this is a movie that I think people saw during COVID and felt really represented their feelings about kind of being isolated and needing to get back out into the world. And I can see why this movie was popular during that period, because it's just like it made, I think, a lot of people feel validated in their emotions. I really like A Boy and Its Dog Stories, which I was glad to see that come up. I think the dog is excellent in this movie. So, there's from Aaron the Dog Guy, a thumbs up right there. But I mean, it kind of like I knew what I was getting in for kind of from the beginning with this movie, and it didn't really surprise me too much with kind of like it's nice. Like it's very nice. It makes me feel nice. It didn't make me really feel a whole lot else. Michael Rooker was not in this movie enough. Like, and that was a real big bummer for me. Because when he showed up, I was very, very excited, and then he kind of disappears. And like, I don't know, just like the twist with like the guy when he gets to, what is it, Amy? Is that her name? Amy's base or whatever. Like his like big twist and how, you know, evil he was. And then like the callback to the look them in the eyes. You'll know if they're good or bad monsters and everything like that. It was all like very like kind of Amblin in 2020 feeling. And I don't like Amblin movies anyways. So, you know, bringing one to the, and bringing it to the 2020s, you know, it was all right. I don't really remember any of the monsters. I saw this 2 or 3 days ago. And I already don't remember kind of any of the monsters really standing out too much. I think it's funny. This was nominated for best visual effects, but you know, COVID was a hell of a time. But yeah, this just feels like a movie that during COVID, a lot of people I heard talking about. I remember a lot of people really loving it. And I think they kind of loved it because it kind of represented a lot of feelings we had about the importance of not isolating yourself and keeping yourself and getting out there and realizing the world can be explored and conquered still. So it was all right. But yeah, for me, it just wasn't my kind of movie, I guess. And not enough Michael Rooker.
Yeah, so this is a rewatch for everybody else. How did it hold up for everybody on rewatch? I'm just curious. Have you guys seen this multiple times? I've only seen it. This is my second time watching, so I'm curious.
Yeah, this was also my second time watching this. I actually watched this for the first time right when it came out, because this was actually one of the first movies that I watched with my now fiance, because we were stuck dating over Zoom, and so we would just watch movies on Zoom calls, and we chose this one because it sounded kind of nice. And yeah, I liked it back then, and I still really enjoyed it now. I forgot everything that happens in this movie. Like, I had forgotten basically everything except for, like, here is the baseline plot of the movie. I was like, yep, he's in a bunker. He goes to find a girl, finds the girl. That's the whole plot. And I was like, oh, no, a lot more, like, actually happens than I remembered. Yeah, I still really enjoyed it. I think it's quite fun. I think Dylan O'Brien, like say what you will about his like talent as an actor, but I think he is just like a very likable guy. Like he just has this charisma that makes you kind of want to root for him as he's going through this whole thing. Yeah, I think the effects are pretty cool. I think the design of some of the monsters is really interesting. My favorite scene in the whole movie is the scene where he meets up with the robot. Like he's had the one in his bunker the whole time, and then he finally meets up with I think is it called a Mavis?
Mavis,
I think
with the one.
Yeah, like he meets up with the live Mavis, and just like the wonder in his eyes at one of them being alive is like a really cool moment, and like it's a really nice emotional moment where it's like he gets to see this picture of his parents. He gets all this stuff. They play a song that has given me PTSD now, so that's fun. Stand By Me by Benny King hurts me emotionally for reasons. People who know. It represents all that could have been. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The third act I had entirely forgotten, where it's like I don't know how you forget a giant crab monster carrying a yacht through the ocean, but somehow you do. Yeah, I liked it. Like it's a movie that I will never say is like great objectively. Like it's not a phenomenal, amazing, revolutionary movie by any means, but it's really fun and enjoyable, and it's an easy watch, and I like it. I watched it at the gym.
Maybe this movie has something for it, because I also forgot everything about this movie. Like everything. So like maybe this show
we all tried to
will
block out 2020. So
that could be, but I remember like not hating it. But maybe this one will be like every time. Maybe the show will be the trigger that keeps it in there, or just every time I watch this movie, I'm just like, oh, that's happened. This happens when that crab showed up too. I was just like, oh, I do not remember this giant crab, but
Harry forgot about the crab, and I saw it 2 days ago.
It's
I could have
crazy.
swore the movie was like 2.5 hours. Then I came back to watch it this time. It was like only like an hour 48. I was like, oh, hey.
Yeah, they cut things or something. Brian, what's your take on? What was your take on the first time, and how are you taking it on the second?
Yeah, no, this is the only second time I've watched it. The first time was like when it first came out. I watched it, and I enjoyed it. I wanted to like it more though. I went into it like kind of with optimistic expectations. And it was all right. A big part. I didn't like the creature design. A lot of it. I thought they looked really CG, which is why the nomination is even bigger joke. But I didn't like the creature design. The cast was all right. Because I mean, like Dylan O'Brien, I have no problem with him. I do think maybe the movie could have been stronger with somebody else in the role. Other people in there, like Jessica Henwick, I really like her, but she's kind of still waiting for that role to break out in, because she always has like big parts in small movies or small parts in big movies, and she's never kind of getting to the next tier. So I'm kind of rooting for her to finally break out. But I do like kind of the stories and the themes of the movie. Like I said, the boy and his dog thing is probably the best part of the movie. But also I think the whole movie is about like found families. It's like everybody who's lost their loved ones, things like that, and they find these new families, whether it be people in the bunker or like even just Joel and his dog, or like when Michael Rooker, Yondu meets young Gamora there, and they get to they have created their own new family that he becomes part of for a while. And I think that's kind of like the main theme of the movie is these found families, especially at the end when he decides to go back to that family, even though he's finally got to Amy and everything. And so I like that about it. I just wish I liked the movie more than I did.
That's fair. Matt, what was your take on it? I'm gonna rewatch.
Oh yeah, I mean the first time I saw it was like when it first came out. I thought it was all right. I feel like it's I don't generally like to call movies like serviceable or harmless, but that's kind of this. I mean, I like the middle section where he gets with Michael Rooker and the little girl, and then the robot there. I kind of wish there would have been like maybe another character he would have encountered in his journey, spent some time with. Or he would have stuck with Michael Rooker longer, then it would have had more of like a zombie land feel to it or something like that, where there's like a crew of people going around and surviving it. But I know it's more about his character kind of growing and finding his inner strength and all that stuff. But yeah, this is a movie that probably a week from now, I'm probably going to forget all about it again until the next time I have to see it. So yeah, it was all right.
Mark, why do you bring such forgettable movies on this show?
That's not true. I mean, everybody, because I don't bring on forgettable movies. It's maybe my first one because everybody's coming here. I don't know, it's fine. I liked it. Those are rave reviews, honestly, for my movies. I think it's always funny when I bring a movie on this show. It's like, man, I feel pretty confident that people are gonna like it, and then everybody gets on and they just shit on it every single time. Like, I mean, I thought people were really gonna like Spring. Boy, was I fucking wrong on that shit. Here's the thing I think about Love and Monsters, and this is kind of a type of movie that I find just incredibly fascinating. Of movies that were clearly trying to spark a franchise, but for whatever reason, they just kind of flamed out. And I feel like for a couple of them, there are generally good reasons. I feel like Love and Monsters is wholly because of the pandemic. I feel like this movie. I feel like this movie honestly could have spun something, and I think it had like a lot of things going for it. I really like Dylan O'Brien in this movie, and I think honestly it could just be for me. Like there's just something about him. I think I like the Maze Runner movies. I think more than the average person. I just genuinely enjoy them. I don't really like American Assassin, but I find Dylan O'Brien's performance in it kind of interesting. But I think in this one, Dylan O'Brien brings like this very everyman quality to it that I think just kind of really helps along the movie. That the Dylan O'Brien is kind of a coward and he's trying to find his courage for the first time. Like he kind of reacts, I think, how we would react if we were in his shoes, trying to like journey across the country to somebody that he loves. and I think the character actors they bring in, I think are really neat. Michael Rooker could be in it more. I'm not gonna disagree with that. I mean, he's got 20, 25 minutes of screen time, if that. But I mean, he really brings life to this movie, and I just like the world of this so much. I think I love the creatures to it. I really like the characters, and just I mean, and you talk about the callback. So they bring up the food stealer thing like a bunch of times, and then they go to the guy the captain is like, "Yep, I'm a food stealer." But no, I think that's just kind of what I like. I like these kind of starter movies that are clearly trying to, especially if they're good. And I think there is a solid foundation there. And I think Love and Monsters has a really solid foundation. And I kind of wish they would go back. Honestly, I kind of wish that I know somebody that's panel doesn't like him. I kind of wish James Gunn would see this movie and maybe just bully his way into making a sequel for this.
Fucking gross. Stop. Oh. Well, no, you know what? He'll do good in the first shot, and then maybe just shit all over it in the sequel. So maybe that's a shot at it. I don't know. Oh man. Okay. Did everybody forget about anything else, or do we want to talk about anything else from the movie, or what's up?
What movie?
Want to talk about the crab monster one more time?
There was a crab monster?
There was a crab monster.
What
the fuck? There's a crab monster?
Did everybody?
What about the giant toad?
perfect...
That was cool.
No,
this movie's is like the old man watering the lawn. Half the time I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's just like that moment. No clue. Okay, Mark, what's your star rating on Love and Monsters?
I think probably of this group, I've definitely seen it the most. I watched it in theaters, liked it quite a bit, bought it, seen it multiple times, and I was very glad to watch it here, especially after AAP. I'll give it 4 stars.
I'm gonna be real honest. I thought this was a Netflix movie. I give it 3.5 stars. It's above average, and Dylan O'Brien was in a movie that I didn't roll my eyes too much at, so I'll take it. Cameron.
Yeah, I had seen it before. I watched it again. I liked it. I also give it 4 stars.
Brian.
3.
Aaron.
I don't like franchise movies, so Mark's obsession with movies that don't work to make franchises, that doesn't hook me into many of Mark's recommendations moving forward. Spree was great. Spree 4 stars. This movie 2.5.
No,
should have been on that episode.
Not Spree.
Oh,
he is 2 for 2 of failed franchises on the show right now. This and Power Rangers just didn't get off the ground.
Yeah, 2.5.
Krispy Kreme. Matt.
Yeah, I think a sequel really could have worked. I think they could have learned some lessons and improved upon certain areas. But for this one, I'm going to give it a 3.
What if they took him and put him inside a maze and made him escape
with the monsters and love?
With the monsters, yeah. Okay. All right. Last movie of the night. Aaron brought another movie on the Criterion Collection, joins the ranks of Armageddon. I will say, Aaron, you have. I will let the bag. Let the
bag out of the cat.
Cat out of the bag. You're 2 for 2 with picking old movies that I really, really, really enjoy. So this and oh crap, I can't think of the other movie's title.
Matter of Life and Death.
Matter of Life and Death. So you've done really good on both of those. This movie's awesome. I love a murder mystery. I think they do such a good job. I think the dialogue in this movie is so on point. And every character is the most interesting character to ever walk on screen while they're talking. And I just find it I couldn't look away the entire time watching this. So hats off. I had no idea this movie even existed at all. I would have never found this ever. So really impressed. I'm guessing everybody else, this was a first time watch for everybody else, right? Or did somebody see this prior? So I'm curious. We'll just go around. What's everybody else's opinion on this movie? Did you guys like it, dislike it? Where are you at? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll just go. I liked it. I kind of like Aaron. I haven't really done a deep dive, and I kind of wish I would. Although I think I'm a little bit scared just because I think the couple of ones I've watched I haven't really liked. At least with film noir, especially with like the classic film noir. And I mean, the character of Mark McPherson is he's just the prototypical like detective, quick talking. Like he's the exact character that I just love to watch on screen. Like where he just seems smarter than everybody else. He just picks up on things that you don't think he would pick. I think because he is definitely the smartest guy in the room, but he doesn't look like he is. And that it's kind of one of those like weird qualities that just kind of works with this movie. And I think kind of like with I think kind of with this movie, I liked it fine. I thought the mystery was kind of neat and kind of how he figures it out. And and honestly, in general, I think I just got to see more Otto Preminger films. I think this is only the second one I've seen of his. I like this one. I really like Anatomy of a Murder. I honestly probably should just kind of run through this guy's filmography, but yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
I'm just gonna get mine out of the way because I don't really have a lot to say about this one. I've never been big into film noir. It's not my thing. I haven't seen a whole lot.
Oh, that's fair. No, I know that.
And I was largely bored by this movie. It wasn't like actively like I disliked it or hated it. I was just really bored at the point where like the movie ended and I'm like, I don't even really remember what happened in this. I go back to look at the wiki plot just to see like if I missed what was going on in this movie. And it just felt like there was kind of nothing to it to me. But I think it just has to do with it's just not my genre. So it's kind of whatever for me.
That's right.
Yeah. I am in somewhat of a similar boat to Brian. So I will say I watched this movie twice for this because I watched it a first time and I was like kind of doing other things while I was watching it, had it on while I was doing it. And it's like I didn't love it. I didn't think it was bad, but I was definitely like I got lost a few times, didn't find it like the most interesting, but I was like based on the premise and like a few things that have been set up, I was like this seems like something I should have really liked. So I'll give it another shot because maybe just like me not paying attention as much as I should have is the thing that really hurt me. And I watched it again and it kind of stayed the same for me. Like not bad, but didn't love it. Again, also like Brian, like film noir is a thing that I'm very like not well versed in. Like I've seen a few of the big ones and that's about it. Same with like Otto Preminger movies. I've seen Anatomy of a Murder and now this one and that's it. And so, yeah, like this is one that it has some really interesting things going on. I think Gene Tierney is giving a great performance. Like I assume we can spoil this movie, right? Like when you get the reveal that Laura is in fact not dead, all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a lot more, especially because like I read just like the one sentence plot summary on Letterboxd. It was like, yeah, a guy falls in love with a woman whose murder he's investigating. I was like, so a ghost or just like he's in love with this woman, but he could never be with her because she's dead. And so like with those ideas in mind, I think I was slightly disappointed in the fact that like, no, it's just she's alive. Like I was hoping for maybe something a little more different. But she's great. I think like the very ending is really good, but for the most part this was very mixed for me.
Sure. Matt?
Yeah, this generally isn't exactly the type of movie I'm known for seeking out or enjoying or something, so I definitely thank you, Aaron. I mean, I wouldn't have seen it without this being on the show here. I certainly enjoyed aspects of it. I really liked the Waldo Lydecker character. I thought that was pretty cool. I liked a lot of the dialogue. It was kind of zippy. I enjoyed. I think the cop. I didn't think he was a very good cop. It was interesting seeing a younger, normal Vincent Price that I don't always get to see. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yes, yeah, some of the twists and turns, I guess, and some of the motives and things like that didn't always work for me. But I mean, overall, I thought it was I enjoyed it, and it was short. So yeah.
I think it's just interesting too with like now like twists are so common in movies and
Mhm.
like everybody's looking for a twist and like oh this is gonna happen like thinking of it like without that capability like the twists in this movie I bet were groundbreaking at the time of when the twist happened versus now it's just like ha there's 7 movies that came out this past like 3 months that have these kind of twists. So I think that's where it like falls for some people. I expected like Vincent Price to be like the steal this movie for me. I think the Lidecker part, like I love that character, like how he was in this movie, and like her still being alive, and then him at the end. Um, I just think works really well. I am just a real big fan. I wouldn't say I'm a film noir like fan. I don't think I've like traveled down that path really of like watching a ton of them. Um, but I just love the quick response, the quick like thing is like when you first meet the lie detector character and he's like, she said I was the most like interesting or power whatever person I've ever spoke. Did you write that yourself? Like basically it was just like a quick response, like you spoke really highly of yourself. Did you say that or were you the one writing that? I just think just how they were able to deliver all that stuff and like when he's like the person standing outside the apartment building and the two up there and he's like basically narrating what's happening and wants to see who the person is and it's like it has this mystery element that I was fully engaged in the entire time even though I kind of had like I kind of caught on a little bit of the twists that were coming just because you basically look out for them in now movies so no but overall I think everything in it just really worked for me and I think like I can understand if film noir is like something you're into or getting into, how this movie would be like right up your alley. Like I just don't know how you watch this movie and don't. And I really liked his directing style. And again, I've only seen Anatomy of Murder, so I'm not like his biggest fan, but he just has a way of directing this movie that just really worked and moved in. And I think like doing a murder mystery like kind of thing is really hard because it can fall into such tropes and like paint by numbers and kind of be like, yep, and this is the killer, and here he is behind this wall, and blah blah blah. So I think it worked. Aaron, like, this is how many times you've seen this a couple times, or is this your first
Probably
like
seen this.
second watch?
I'd say I'd seen this 3 or 4 times at this point.
Okay,
And it's one that I definitely bring up. I bring up a lot. I went into it because I was just watching all of Otto Preminger's movies, and honestly, he has very few misses for me. He has quite a variety of movies too. I really highly recommend just choosing a movie that looks interesting to you from his filmography. Everybody knows Anatomy of a Murder, and that probably is his best because it's one of the best movies like ever. But like this movie, I just was expecting it to kind of just be a typical murder mystery, and it starts off, and you're kind of thrown right into the middle of it, and you know, like with Lidecker and his narration, I think it really kind of effectively kind of shapes the narrative, and that's the perfect character I think have narrate the movie as well. And I'm a huge Vincent Price fan as well. I think he's really great in this movie as the idiot. I think the dialogue and kind of the points it's trying to make about kind of expectations men put on women without bashing you over the head with it or lecturing you on it, and just kind of pointing it as a matter of fact, and even the projections that Dana Andrews' character McPherson has towards her, falling in love with her before meeting her, and everything kind of all play into that. And Jean Tierney, I think, is just she's really, really great in this movie. I was not familiar with her before this either. And yeah, I love my expectations being subverted. It's one of the biggest reasons I love A24. Click. But you know, I get that for certain people that won't jive, but after this, it really did kind of send me down a rabbit hole of film noir. It's why I wanted to bring this onto the panel today. You know, I knew that some people wouldn't like it, other people really would, and you know, I realized more and more with film noir that a lot of them are very, very much kind of realming into the existential kind of area that I like with my movies a little bit more, which is why something like Love and Monster didn't work for me as well, because it kind of kept it so light. I mean, a lot of them are dark, and the cinematography in this movie is magnificent. It's like it's shot and photographed so beautifully. And it's a movie that I probably recommend to people more than most that I've seen, just because I know that most people are just kind of, you're gonna kind of look at it. You look at the, the cover, and it's just like, all right, that looks like a movie I'm probably not going to be get into. It's what most people kind of, I understand that, but yeah, I think Otto Preminger is a really, really strong director, and he has some very, very strong other film noirs that he's done, but he also just has some interesting, like he has an interesting musical that he did, a movie with Cindy Paci. I recommend if this did at all tickle your fancy, just pick a random Otto Preminger movie. It's probably pretty easy to find. It's most likely on YouTube, and you can enjoy it. And I just was not expecting kind of my expectations in the movie to be so subverted when I watched this. I was expecting kind of a typical murder mystery. And once the reveal happens midway through the movie, it still really does hold up and keep my attention throughout it. And Vincent Price makes me laugh every time I watch this as well. I love Vincent Price so much. So I'm glad that people enjoyed it. And I get if this isn't your thing as well. But yeah, and that's just, don't worry, that goes off at 10 o'clock every night. Central Pennsylvania town where we have to test a tornado alarm every night at 10 p.m. So
I was like, who is living in a place that's getting an air raid siren right now?
No, that is like, the whole town of Palmerton every night.
I just felt like I was.
I'm on shows at 10 so often that this happens. And then it always gets the same look from people where they're terrified that they feel like
what if there's a tornado?
I mean, it works really well here because it sounds like an old-timey police siren.
Yeah. Yeah. Also Dana Andrews. Yeah, and Dana Andrews, he's my favorite actor from film noir, and he's in so many. So if you did like Mark McPherson, as Mark did, there's plenty of Dana Andrews film noir for you to. I think Dana Andrews is a great at playing this gum-chewing detective role. And my mileage varies on a lot of those, but yeah, I'll watch anything he's in. So yeah, and that was my bell to, wrap it up, I guess. So
no, that's fair. Laura, she goes missing, and then police like it just works out. Join us next time on the episode. So we'll get scores for Laura. I would suggest taking out again, if you watch this episode without seeing the movie, that's pretty wild. Don't suggest you do that ever. But I would suggest this movie for people, especially like film noir. Your score, Aaron.
First of all, I was surprised I forgot this is under 90 minutes, but that just like really does like kind of blow my mind with how much it fits in here as well. I'm going to give it 5 stars. It's in my 100 favorite movies of all time, which is actually a list that I just put together with a friend of mine. It's in the top half of my 100 favorite of all time. It really did affect kind of my interest in era of films that I didn't, wasn't ever really too interested in before this. And I'm really glad I found a lot of great movies from it. And yeah, this one doesn't get old to me. I've seen it 4 or 5 times now. And I really do enjoy it, and I recommend it almost as much as Harold and Maude. Almost.
Mark.
I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. I'm honestly pretty interested in kind of exploring Otto Preminger a little more. He's 2 for 2 for me so far.
I'm at 4 stars. I'm 4 stars. I think it definitely could go up too on watches. I think there's more to pick up than probably when I picked up the first time watching it. Matt.
Yeah, I think that this is a genre you want to explore. This is probably a good one to go into. It seems to have a lot of the key things, and it's got some pretty interesting characters. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 stars.
Cam.
Watched it twice. The rating remained the same on both watches. It is a 3.5 out of 5. It is good, but
Brian.
I'm on the island this time. Just for my personal taste, 2 stars.
That works. Well, thank everybody for being on this episode. Our next one to come up, again, all updated roundtable episodes will be on my letterbox under my pinned on my profile of upcoming episodes. The one we have coming up, I think, after this is going to be documentaries. The documentaries have been selected. Tower, Blackfish, Dear Zachary, A Letter to a Son About His Father.
Jesus.
Trophy Kids. I know there's another one. What the Thin Blue Line?
Thin Blue Line.
The Thin Blue Line, and Cam was going to be on. Cameron couldn't be on, so
I was going to be on, and then I realized it wasn't filming on a Sunday like they usually do when I'm always free, and that it's on a night.
It was a rare one that we had to move it. But the one we decided on was Catching Hell. About Steve Bartman from Chicago.
Who suggested Dear Zachary? Just out of curiosity.
Matt did, and I would have picked it if Matt didn't pick it first.
Jesus.
We were told
Aaron, don't say anything because I know Cody doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't think Cody knows what.
I won't say.
I don't know it either. Like, just don't
we were told to not know anything about it, so we're going to keep that a mystery. It's got. So Koho's back on, Matt's on, Mark, Scott, and me. So overall, we will see you next time on the roundtable. Thanks, everybody. Bye.